Tonight, an LRT shutdown this weekend that has some East End residents hopeful for future commutes.
I can't wait for it to open, honestly.
You have a rail station, it's exciting.
We thought it would kind of be ready by now.
Vacant trains running tests today and tomorrow, one step closer to opening to the public. Surely you can't be serious.
We do aviation better than just about any country on earth.
The skies come alive at the Gatineau, Ottawa Aero Show. And don't call me Shirley. And getting an inside look at the National Capital Commission's projects.
We want to be sure that we are sharing with the public all of the exciting things we are doing.
Open NCC returns for another year. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. East End residents are getting a chance to see the LRT in action this weekend as an important service test rolls out. It's a major first step towards fully opening the line to passengers, and CTV's Kimberly Johnson was out speaking with some residents today. She joins us now with reactions. So, Kimberly, what are you hearing?
Austin, I heard from several people who say they're excited to see this project one step closer to wrapping up, with the city shutting down the east-west LRT line as vacant trains run as part of a major test this weekend.
Yeah, there it goes already.
Jake Ting is watching the LRT trains make test runs while he waits for his bus.
I can't wait for it to open, honestly. We just actually moved near the neighborhood, and we thought it would kind of be ready by now, but it's fine.
He works downtown during the week and says taking the LRT will shave 20 minutes off of his commute.
It's about a 10-minute walk from my house to the Jeanne d'Arc station here, and I can't wait, yeah. I mean, I have to go downtown anyway, so let's make it as easy as possible.
The LRT Line 1 is closed across the city on Saturday and Sunday to run an important performance test ahead of opening to the public. Trains are continuously running from Tunney's Pasture to Blair Station, then moving on to the East Extension, stopping at Montreal, Jeanne d'Arc, Convent Glen, Place d'Orleans, and Trim stations.
Fantastic. I think we've all been waiting a long time for this.
This couple came out to see the new line in action at Convent Glen Station. They say once open, it will be a big addition.
We still have a two-lane highway coming here, same thing 25 years ago, so we need the LRT to ease traffic.
The performance test is the second of 4 milestones that must be successfully completed before trial running starts and the line opens, with the goal of it opening by the end of the year.
We want to make sure that obviously the spine, part 1, connects to part 2. And to be able to do that, they had to close the entire segment. They're running at different intervals, so it could be 3-minute times, 4-minute times, 5-minute times. They have a whole schedule throughout the day.
I hope this gets open at some point. Maybe this year, maybe next year, who knows?
With no official opening date set, past LRT issues means this mother is hesitant, but says she's willing to wait.
If you take your time with a lot of these things, it may be big pain, but in the long run, it's worth it.
Other transit commuters say the test means things are on the right track.
That will make the commute so much faster, and it makes me want to come out here more.
It's exciting, so I'm just excited overall.
The city says during the so-called performance test, 23 trains are operating between Tunney's Pasture and Trim stations. Officials say multiple test scenarios are being conducted throughout the weekend to see if the system can meet the service levels that are required to run. Austin?
Okay, Kimberly, thank you very much for this. Well, the sky in the National Capital Region has come alive this weekend as the 8th annual Gatineau, Ottawa Air Show kicks off. Thousands are heading out to Gatineau Airport to see Canada's historic airplanes in action, and CTV's Dylan Dyson caught part of that show today and joins us live with a recap. Dylan.
Austin, from the iconic snowbirds to the planes that inspired Top Gun, you can see it all up in the sky this weekend in a showcase of Canadian aviation. Up in the sky, it's not a bird, but a plane streaking through the Gatineau skyline.
We have the snowbirds, which you can see behind me. We have the F-18 from Canada. We have a MiG-17, which you might just see in the corner of your video there. We have the Canadian Skyhawk parachute jump team.
The 8th annual Aero Gatineau Ottawa Air Show is in full flight this weekend. Taking off in a Supermarine Spitfire, pilot Dave Hadfield putting on a show Saturday.
We'll be in a Vic of 3 aircraft. We'll be making passes in front of the crowd, both directions. And then we'll split off into a tail chase and kind of beat up the airport.
Brother of Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield, Dave enjoys bringing these historic aircraft out of holding, allowing them to stretch their wings.
It keeps a sense of history alive and actually brings it to young people in a way that they wouldn't ordinarily get exposed.
That's what continues to bring out enthusiasts like Jean-Pierre Leboeuf.
It's very interesting to see how it was built, and above all, it's a major airplane. It's a masterpiece considering the aviation history.
As Sergeant Jones breaks away, the last two members remain in a downplane.
The Canadian Armed Forces parachute team facing gravity head-on.
It's a three-man formation. We all stack our parachutes up one by one, and then essentially we bring them out side by side and then downplane them or bring them straight towards the ground in a more dramatic fashion with smoke as well.
And from the sky to the tarmac, this jet-powered truck will reach speeds of 300 miles an hour while racing an airplane.
He'll come in on the miles an hour side. He'll come in at 150 miles an hour, and I'll be sitting still. So I got to catch up with his speed plus whatever it takes to get out the back end.
So quite the spectacle, as you can see there, and there is still time to catch the last day of the show tomorrow, which runs from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Austin.
Yeah, tons of fun, Dylan. Thank you very much for this. CTV's Dylan Dyson reporting live for us tonight. And it was beautiful weather for the air show today, about 22, 21 degrees. So right in that sweet spot as we take our first look at the weather forecast. And we do have a chance of showers this evening, and that chance carries over into tomorrow, but mostly sunny conditions for Monday and a high of 24 degrees by 4 o'clock tomorrow. And so very, very nice weather-wise, temperature-wise rather, as we continue with these summer-like conditions. 9 days of summer left, but who's counting? One person was airlifted to hospital today after a collision on Highway 417. It happened near Castleman shortly before noon in the westbound lanes of the highway between Principal Street and Limoges Road. That's just east of Ottawa. Those westbound lanes were forced to close for about 2 hours before reopening shortly after 2 o'clock this afternoon. The condition of the individual who was injured is still unclear. Ottawa fire crews and paramedics rescued a worker Friday morning who fell into a trench at a construction site on Heron Road. The fire department posting photos of the rescue effort. Emergency crews were called to the scene at around 11:20 a.m. after the worker, who had been removing wooden barriers that were covering the trench, fell and landed on his back. The man was treated for a leg injury and he was transported to hospital in stable condition. Well, the NHL has ruled that 5 former World Junior hockey players acquitted of sexual assault, including former Ottawa Senators forward Alex Formenton, will be allowed to return to the league starting December 1st. However, there's no guarantee that they will be welcomed back. CTV's John Venevali-Rao has the details.
Oh, what a save by Hart! Of all of the players who were acquitted, goaltender Carter Hart appears to have the best shot at returning to the NHL. His former team, the Flyers, have yet to say whether they'll pursue a deal, but reportedly several teams are watching with interest.
I think for a guy like Carter Hart, a team that needs a good backup goalie, a team that can go on a deep playoff run but needs a little insurance, that's what I could see taking a chance on Carter Hart.
In July, a judge found Hart and 4 other players not guilty of sexually assaulting a woman in a London hotel room. The NHL now says they can start playing in December, and the Players Association says it considers the matter closed and looks forward to the players' return. But some think for the less talented members of the group, teams will be reluctant to sign them.
A star goaltender will have no difficulty playing in the NHL. A borderline player will have an abundantly difficult time playing in the NHL because teams won't want to deal with the potential repercussion and backlash.
Alex Formenton had been with the Ottawa Senators before he was charged. Asked if they want him back, in a statement, the Sens says they are aware of the NHL's ruling and will have no further comment at this time. Formenton recently returned to playing in Switzerland and did one of his first hockey-related interviews in years.
Yeah, it feels amazing. I mean, to get back out on the ice, it feels really good.
I think they should own it.
Allison Forsyth promotes safe sport and was disappointed with the NHL's decision, though she thinks if the players expressed regret publicly, it would help.
And just stand up and say what we did and what is happening in hockey is wrong. And no one is more powerful to educate on that than someone who has done those things. So I think that's a huge opportunity.
The NHL says teams can start signing the players as of October 15th, something that will be closely watched. John Venavalli-Rouse, CTV News, Toronto.
The Ontario Liberals are holding their annual general meeting in Toronto this weekend. Bonnie Crombie is set to face a leadership test after she was unable to win a seat in the legislature in February's provincial election. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris reports.
Bonnie Crombie smiles brightly, arriving for day 2 of the Ontario Liberals' annual general meeting. But her job is on the line, with voting underway on whether to go through another leadership review. In a speech, Crombie focused on the road ahead, not the recent election.
We are rebuilding our grassroots. We are refocusing on the values that matter the most. And we are ready to give Ontarians a real alternative to Doug Ford.
Calling for a strong, energized, and united party. But in the halls, there are fractures.
She should continue as the leader of the party. She just hasn't had enough time. I think it would be healthy for our party to see her now.
Nate Erskine-Smith, an MP and runner-up in the last Ontario Liberal leadership contest, gives Crombie credit for engaging in this meeting, but it's not enough.
There have been some missteps along the way, unfortunately, and I think we've got to take another crack at it. We've got to make sure we have a competitive race, bring a lot of new people in.
Crombie concedes her winter campaign
didn't hit the mark, whether it was the messaging or a combination of things, and we'll ensure this time it will.
The Liberals did manage to grow their share of the popular vote and regain party status, though Crombie remains without a seat herself.
I think for a party in opposition, particularly a party that's been in the 3rd place for the past 7.5 years, to be changing leaders every election cycle is not a smart strategy.
But there's fatigue with promises to do better.
We can't just keep on saying, oh, we need to, learn from this and do better, because we aren't seeing that. So quite frankly, I think the best way to do that is through a leadership review.
Crombie only needs 51% backing to survive a leadership challenge, but there are calls for her to resign if she can't pick up at least 2/3 support, 66%.
I'm feeling it in this room. I'm feeling that I've earned the support and the trust of our delegates and our party, and we'll see what that looks like tomorrow.
Crombie won't say what she'd do if she clears 51% but emerges below that 2/3 mark. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
People here in Ottawa got an inside look at some of the National Capital Commission program sites today, from guided tours to expert presentations and live entertainment. There were hundreds of people that came out to take advantage of this event, and CTV's Camille Wilson checked out some of those sites today and joins us now with a recap. Camille.
Austin, it was a bunch of heritage and historical sites out there this afternoon, giving people a chance to learn about what shapes the capital and people who want to broaden their knowledge on Ottawa and Gatineau.
With history.
A day of discovery and note-taking for Sarah Ewell, a journalism and history student at Carleton University.
It's kind of a good blending of history in Ottawa, and I just moved to Ottawa a couple years ago for school, so I'm always interested in learning more and more about kind of the city.
Opening up all the National Capital Commission sites to the public, an opportunity to get a behind-the-scenes look at all things NCC.
I looked it up last night, and I looked at the roster and saw all the different places. It kind of made sense for me to come here and talk to some people here, and that's why I'm taking notes and making sure that I have everything super accurate.
Offering biking tours and walking tours, expert presentations, games, and activities for everyone. Majors Hill Park being the headquarters for the day.
Anything that's making Ottawa a bit more interesting or teaching me about living in the city and things like that, I've always valued.
People are now understanding that we are, really doing a lot to activate our shorelines and waterways, and we want the public to know more about what we're doing, to understand our future plans.
9 NCC sites to explore, Kawiki Point being one of them, explaining the design behind the art and architecture.
I really loved it, but I wanted to hear more about the story behind the project, the design, the details, and I knew that NCC staff would be leading the tour.
This is a moose call.
The exploration doesn't stop in Ottawa. Across the river at the Hull Marina at Jacques Cartier Park in Gatineau, a boat tour offering a glimpse into the area's history.
Learned a lot of nice things, lots of historical significant stuff. We learned a little bit about the Gatineau River and some of the history of the Ottawa region.
Other locations include the Gatineau Park Visitor Center, Westboro Beach, Dow's Lake, and Rideau Hall. Open NCC events continue this evening with a bike night at Confederation Park featuring a nighttime bike ride along the Queen Elizabeth Driveway and Colonel By Drive. And the ride welcomes cyclists of all ages, experience levels to help further explore the city. Austin.
Yeah, tons of fun. Camille, thank you very much for this. CTV's Camille Wilson reporting live for us tonight. Thank you. Well, more than 150 people gathered in Ottawa's Overbrook neighborhood today before embarking on a 5-kilometer walk, raising awareness for pulmonary fibrosis. The event comes as advocates push for oxygen to be covered under the new federal government pharmacare program.
Oxygen is classified as a drug, but it's always funded as a device, and so the two don't marry, and quite often people have to pay the difference out of pocket. And so we did a submission to the Canadian Drug Agency to say that oxygen is classified as a drug. We want it to be funded as a drug.
Pulmonary fibrosis is a chronic lung disease where the tissue in and around the lungs' air sacs becomes thick and scarred, making it hard for oxygen to get into the bloodstream. According to the Canadian Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation, about 30,000 Canadians live with the disease, and that number is growing.
They don't really think that there's enough of a consequence of actually flying one of these things into NATO airspace.
Still ahead, Donald Trump's latest calls on NATO countries to impose hefty tariffs on China and to stop buying oil from Russia in a bid to stop the fighting in Ukraine. And here's a live look through our Centennial Glass Skycam. It's currently 22 degrees. There were more Russian drones in NATO skies today as incursions continued in Poland and now Romania. It comes as Donald Trump is calling on NATO allies to issue new, stronger sanctions to help end the war. But Trump is targeting China, not Russia. Now, CTV's Colton Prail reports experts say it leaves Canada in a precariously trapped-in-the-middle position.
This is the sound of NATO's defense. French fighter jets scrambled over Polish skies as Russian drones breached NATO territory in Romania and operated near the Polish border today.
Either means that the Russians feel emboldened or they don't really think that there's enough of a consequence of actually flying one of these things into NATO airspace that they need to actually care.
But as Russian incursions grow bolder, Donald Trump says NATO needs to step up before he implements new sanctions. Today, the president calling on all NATO members to stop buying Russian oil and to impose 50 to 100% tariffs on China until the end of the war.
It's a way to sound tough, but at the end of the day, he won't have to do anything because he has set the bar too high.
Experts say Trump's demands may be unlikely to happen, but they highlight Canada's precarious position, caught between global superpowers and in trade disputes with both.
We do need to be practical. Just firmly locking us into one position on everything with one particular partner, one particular country, or bloc can be problematic.
Some say it represents an existential problem for Canada. They say significant and immediate security and foreign policy investments will be needed to be able to protect Canadian interests on the world stage.
But we don't have 5 years. We have a year, maybe 2, to turn this around. After that, I'm worried that we're going to be even more alone in the world than we are today.
G7 finance ministers spoke yesterday to consider additional sanctions on Russia, but nothing was announced. The finance minister's office says those discussions will continue over the coming weeks. Colton Prail, CTV News, Ottawa.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is on his way to Israel, saying Israel's recent airstrike targeting Hamas officials in Qatar is the focus and what impact it'll have on efforts to get hostages back and end the war.
The president wants this to be finished with, and finished with meaning 48 hostages released all at once. Hamas no longer a threat, so we can move on to the next phase, which is how do you rebuild Gaza? How do you provide security? How do you make sure Hamas or anything like it never comes back again? That's the president's priority. That's always been his priority, and that's what we're going to try to move forward on. part of what we're going to have to discuss as part of this visit is how the events of last week in Qatar impact that.
Israel carried out a strike on Qatar's capital on Tuesday, claiming it was targeting Hamas leaders who had gathered to discuss a ceasefire proposal brought forward by the U.S. and Israel. Rubio's visit comes after his meeting with Qatar's prime minister at the White House yesterday. U.S. President Donald Trump also met with his Qatari counterpart on Friday. 6 people were arrested at dueling rallies in Toronto today as demonstrators and counter-demonstrators clashed over concerns about immigration here in Canada. CTV's Scott Lightfoot has more.
Carrying the flag, they marched through the streets of Canada's most multicultural city, voicing their opinions on immigration policy in this country.
I'm not saying no to immigrants. I say we need to slow it down. We need to be more, I guess, careful about who we bring into this country.
Joanna Jar is the founder of the Canada First movement.
Our duty is to uphold our history, protect our culture and identity. This is why we're here today.
Today, he organized a rally that began in Christie Pitts on the same day as similar rallies in other cities around the world, inviting like-minded Canadians to stand up for their beliefs.
When my parents came here in 1954, they assimilated. We're Catholic, but we don't wear it on our sleeve. We have a different language, but we all spoke English. I don't see enough assimilation. And it's not a dirty word.
I'm tired of being that polite, silent, neutral Canadian. That's what we are known for. We're neutral. You have your view. You have your view. We're in the middle trying to help each other, both sides out. I'm done with that.
Also in the same park, a larger and louder protest against the Canada First rally.
Not in our park, not in our community. You're not spreading that kind of racism and division in our neighborhoods.
For some, the chosen site where a riot involving anti-Jewish sentiment occurred in 1933 was enough to draw them out to protest.
I want to keep the fascists down. They're everywhere now. They were more powerful in the 30s. I don't want them to get that powerful again.
The counter-protesters encircled the Canada First rally, Toronto police forming a barrier between the two groups. And when the Canada First rally took to the streets, it only took a few steps before the skirmishes began. Police ended up closing Bloor Street for a period of time. Tactical officers with riot weapons moved in. Although the crowd dispersed without issue, many rejoined the march, which made its way along Bloor before heading south to Yonge Dundas Square. Protesters shouting down the marchers all the way along the route.
Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
Well, a butcher working on Prince Edward Island is proving that age is just a number as he continues to work at 92. He remains a key contributor to the family business, which has been going strong now for generations. CTV's Maria Saru reports.
Adding another piece of pork to the pile, Mervyn McPhee's day starts like this. Custom cuts behind the butcher's block.
I'll come in, and you know, they don't start clapping when I can read them in the morning.
But at 92, he deserves a round of applause. Mervyn learned the trade from his father, the second of 4 generations to stand here. Walking takes a little more care now, but his favorite task hasn't changed.
And I think I can bone as good as any of them. I get the most meat off the bone.
The day-to-day operations fall to his son, Lindsay,
Grinder, sausage maker,
who started here as a teenager. Now in his 60s, he also has no plans to slow down.
Where a lot of people are, I wonder what I'm going to do today. Well, I know what I'm going to do today because there's lots to do.
But soon, Lindsay's son Ryan will take the reins. It's a labor of love for the McPhees. Over 90 years, the business has changed hands and priorities. Fewer farm kills, more retail, and products people can buy. But the constant is service to their community and the island. The family hopes a fifth generation will take over here at McPhee's Meats, and one of the great-grandchildren is already a contender. Maria Sru, CTV News, Clyde River, Prince Edward Island.
This is going to be the very first critical minerals project to reach production of any sort of significance in Canada in many, many years.
After the break, where the provincial government is investing millions of dollars in a cobalt refinery plant project here in Ontario.
Get the latest live local breaking news. Sign up now for our morning and evening CTV News Ottawa newsletter. The best local content from CTV News, CTV Morning Live, and News Talk 580 CFRA. Get it all in one place. Sign up now at ctvnewsottawa.ca. The CTV News Ottawa newsletter is brought to you in part by CAA Business.
I mentioned it earlier in the show. We have 9 days left of summer, and hopefully it's going to feel like summer for a little bit longer than that as we bask in the final gasp of summer-like weather. And the satellite radar showing very little light cloud activity over the course of today. More on what to expect in just a moment. Out on the East Coast, it's starting to cool down. 10 degrees in St. John's, 10 degrees in Goose Bay as well. 17 in Halifax still, so not too bad. Charlottetown and Fredericton at 16 and 15 degrees respectively. Here in Ottawa, we're currently sitting at 21. We do have a chance of showers over the course of this evening. 23 right now in Toronto, 19 in Quebec City. Out along the prairies, they've got some lightning, some thunderstorms going on. Calgary, Regina, Saskatoon. So it could always be worse, folks. We could be experiencing rain and lightning right now. It is a scorcher in Edmonton at 27 degrees. Vancouver, a mix of sun and cloud, currently sitting at 20. So tonight's low getting down to 13. A chance of rain, as I mentioned, here in the capital. Pretty clear evening in Trenton. A little bit of rain in Kingston with lows of 13 degrees there as well along the Seaway. Gatineau, 12 degrees tonight as people soak in some electronic music riverside for another night of EDM. Mont-Tremblant is going to be the cool spot at 9 degrees tonight before we warm up a pretty good amount. 24 is the high for tomorrow. That rain expected to continue at least in parts of our region over a course of the day. So on and off for tomorrow. Same goes for Gatineau. 24 is the high. 25 is the high tomorrow in Montreal. We're going to take a quick look now at the 7-day forecast, and you can see what I mean about that last gasp of summer, getting up to a high of 28 degrees on Thursday. That's the warmest day in the next 7, but the nicest is going to be on Wednesday. Nothing but sunny conditions and a high of 27. Well, amid a looming battle among Western nations and China to control the cobalt supply sector, pledged money continues to pour into a refinery plant project here in Ontario. Cobalt is considered a key material in the race to build the batteries that power electric vehicles, and CTV's Eric Tashner has the details.
Closer and closer to getting up and running. That's how Electra Battery Materials CEO Trent Mell sees it, as major financial strides are being taken to open North America's first cobalt refinery plant in North Cobalt.
This is going to be the very first critical minerals project to reach production of any sort of significance in Canada in many, many years.
The province is committing $17.5 million to the project. Minister of Economic Development Vic Fedeli says in part, Electra's investment in Temiskaming Shores will establish an integral link in the province's critical mineral processing supply chains and fuel the next stages of Ontario's leadership in electric vehicle battery manufacturing. This is only a part of an estimated $100 million needed to complete the refinery construction. Last summer, the Pentagon presented $20 million, and discussions with the federal government to unlock an additional $20 million are still ongoing.
It's really up to the lawyers to dot the I's and cross the T's on both contribution agreements, the federal and the provincial.
Electra is launching a restructuring plan targeting an approximate 60% reduction in convertible debt and a $30 million U.S. equity raise. The refinery would add 50 new jobs and produce 6,500 tons of battery-grade cobalt sulfate annually. That's enough to support domestic production of up to 1 million electric vehicles per year. Almost all of the current cobalt supply comes from China. Electra's goal is to stand out as one of the few producers with no ties to foreign entities.
Our stated mandate is to onshore the supply chain, reduce reliance on China, because we do have tensions that pop up here and there. So we will be 100% of the market and we will be a preferred supplier.
Electra has its eyes locked on construction ending in late 2026, with production operations starting in early 2027. Eric Tashner, CTV News, North Bay.
Prime Minister Mark Carney unveiled the long-anticipated first phase of nation-building projects to be prioritized by the federal government. And one of those projects is the Contrecoeur expansion of the Port of Montreal. But as CTV's Matt Grillo reports, some people are worried about how it could impact their city.
One of the 5 nation-building projects chosen by Ottawa is the expansion of the Port of Montreal's terminal in Contrecoeur. It's now being fast-tracked so the port can boost capacity.
It will allow many companies to be able to export in other markets and go beyond the U.S.-Canada relationships.
But in Contrecoeur, about an hour from Montreal, there is a lot of concern. Some residents worry an expanded port will have a major impact on their city.
They're living in a small, quiet city by the river, and they're going to live in a very, very big industrial zone that is going to be the port of Contrecoeur.
And there are environmental concerns too. They worry about added pollution from trucks and ships.
The water that we drink is pumped just a kilometer away. So are we going to pollute the St. Lawrence River? We're concerned that adding more pollutants is going to be quite concerning for the health of the citizens.
On Thursday, a Quebec environmental group filed an application in Quebec Superior Court challenging the validity of Bill C-5. That's the law that allows these projects to be fast-tracked.
Basically, with C5, if a project is to be designated as to be of national interest, the government can then override the application of environmental laws.
The Port of Montreal says it will not carry out any construction without proper authorization and permits.
Les gens, ils pensent à l'économie, mais c'est à quel prix?
People think about the economy, but at what price, this resident asks. The port says this expansion will help companies access more trade markets around the world. The work on the Contrecoeur terminal could start as early as late September. Matt Grillo, CTV News, Contrecoeur.
We've had seniors here ranging from 50 to 95.
Still ahead, we take a look at homelessness here in Canada as advocates express growing concerns about the increasing number of unhoused seniors.
iHeartRadio Weekenders is powered by Barhaven Ford, Ottawa's newest and largest Ford store, and Eastern Ontario's Ford EV leader.
It is now time to check in with our iHeartRadio Weekender, Tanea Taylor. Tanea.
Starting with good news today, it's Spencerville Fair weekend. Check it out for a bunch of family fun and all your fair favorites like the Midway, livestock shows, an antique car show, and lots more. There will also be live entertainment all weekend long in the entertainment tent, so you're not going to want to miss this one. Next up, you still have time to catch Orleans Rib Fest, all the best ribs by award-winning cooks, plus the new and expanded Poutine Fest, which features over 50 different kinds of poutine to try. Lots of other familiar vendors on site as well, with mini donuts, ice cream, and more. You're also going to find live music and a kids zone all weekend. This sounds like so much fun, and I'm actually now really hungry. Admission is free. Lots more to do this weekend around the capital. For the full list and all the details, check ctvottawa.ca/weekenders. For the iHeartRadio Weekenders, I'm Tanea Taylor. Have a great one.
iHeartRadio Weekenders is powered by Barhaven Ford, Ottawa's newest and largest Ford store, and Eastern Ontario's Ford EV leader.
In case you missed it this week, there are some questions about whether the city's photo radar camera program could soon come to an end. The Premier says it's time for municipalities to get rid of all speed cameras, and his comments are flashing up a real debate about whether the cameras make roads any safer or if they're just a cash grab. CTV's Tyler Fleming has that story.
In Riverside South, Valerie Vassbinder says this speed camera makes a difference.
As a mom of two that grew up with the kids going to school here, people aren't pulling, 60, 70 miles down the straightaway in front of the schools as little kids are trying to cross.
For Vassbinder, it's a must in front of schools.
As a safety concern.
Others agree.
They do work. I've seen it.
But some side with Premier Ford, who's dead against them and wants the cameras removed.
This is nothing but a tax grab.
They're giving out too many tickets nowadays.
The city's 60 automated cameras generate millions of dollars in revenue.
I got a $70 ticket for going 9 over. It's crazy.
Cameras cost a lot less than police officers.
Ottawa's mayor says he's open to working with the province on the photo radar program, but combating speeding is a top priority.
And we need to do everything we can to keep that under control.
Do speed cameras work? Yes, for the most part, and city data shows this. But here's the issue. They're slowing down in front of the camera. On this stretch of Spratt Road, there's only one camera for 3 schools.
So you'll watch the cars speed all the way across, get to the stop sign, do their 40 in front of Steve McLean, and then speed back up until they hit the next stop.
And my radar gun proved it. Not far from, but outside the camera's view, many drove over the 40-kilometer-per-hour limit. The same for Bronson Avenue and on Riverside Drive too. These days, even smartphone maps can send warnings. So, to sum up today's snapshot of opinions,
a little tax grab, a little a safety thing.
If you want to speed and risk your life and others people's life, then you have to pay the price for it.
Tyler Fleming, CTV News.
The number of people experiencing homelessness here in Canada is on the rise, and now there is growing concern about the increasing number of unhoused seniors. CTV's Alison Bamford has that.
Saskatoon's Salvation Army can be a safe haven or a stop along the way to permanent housing. And inside, workers have helped people of all ages.
We've had seniors here ranging from 50 to 95.
About 4% of the shelter's clients are seniors, up slightly from last year, a small number that still carries big concern.
That's not where any of us want to be at that stage in life.
27% of people experiencing homelessness in Canada are over the age of 50, 4% older than 65, an issue that some say is getting worse.
We are seeing a trend of increased seniors in our shelter population. It is a general trend, and in some cases, it's one of the fastest growing trends.
The rising cost of living and rent, along with the death of a spouse and loss of a second income, are all contributing factors.
So there's just a lot more pressures when people get older, when they're on fixed income and they have, higher medical needs.
Part of the increase is simply due to the homeless population aging, but experts say about half of unhoused seniors experience homelessness for the first time after the age of 55, and they come to shelters with very unique needs.
Their needs are more around mobility and maintaining health and, being able to use their walker or wheelchair.
Joe Humphreys is lead coordinator for the research project Aging in the Right Place, searching for solutions to specifically support seniors facing homelessness, one facet of a complicated crisis.
It can be overwhelming if you're trying to solve the whole thing all at once. So when we can make some progress, then we celebrate that and try to make more progress.
Small victories that will eventually add up. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
After the break, we'll take you to Lansdowne as City Folk Fest kicks off day 4. In tonight's big picture, a portside accident saw dozens of shipping containers come crashing down into the water, and the whole thing was caught on camera.
Oh, what's going on the stacks?
This major mishap happened at the Port of Long Beach in California, where officials say about 75 containers plunged off the cargo ship and into the water, where they piled up, dented, and of course were damaged. Thankfully, no injuries were reported, but officials were forced to halt terminal operations for a brief period. The incident happened on Tuesday, and cleanup efforts are still underway. Turning now to some of the other stories you need to know right now. And to do this, we want to bring in CTV's Kimberly Fowler. Kimberly.
Well, thanks, Austin. City Folk, the festival that marks the unofficial end of the summer here in the capital, in full swing at Lansdowne Park. The 5-day celebration of music, dance, and community features over 30 acts, including Alex Warren, Melissa Etheridge, the Indigo Girls, and tonight's headliner, the Pogues. City Folk wraps up tomorrow with headliner Down with Webster.
Some help here as well with Forbes, and there's an attempt at goal. Ball is headed in the back of the goal. Early on in the...
Florence Belzile evens the score in the 47th minute for Rapid FC on the road against the Tides in Halifax this afternoon. A 1-1 draw. That's your final score. Ottawa still holding on to third spot in the Northern Super League standings, 2 points behind Vancouver's Rise FC. The Rapid now head to Calgary to play the Wild on Wednesday. And the girls kicking in the capital is back for another year with games played at Ben Franklin Park, Centrepoint, Sir Robert Borden, and surrounding fields in the Nepean area. Now, the tournament helps players and teams from across the province to develop their skills, compete against a diverse set of teams, as well as well-rounded athletes. Now, the tournament is hosted by the Ottawa City Soccer Club.
Will look to do it himself this time. Finds a way down to the end zone. Is he in? Yes! Touchdown, Ottawa!
The Ottawa Red Blacks were looking to claw their way to a win against the Lions last night in BC, but they fell short. The Lions, they go on to roar to the 38-27 win. The Red Blacks slipped to a record of 4-9 on the season. Their next match is next week on Saturday. It'll be at TD Place against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And tomorrow marks a big milestone for the annual Terry Fox Run. It's been 45 years since the event started raising money for cancer research in Fox's memory. Ottawa's organized runs include one at Carleton University, one in Canada at the Canada Montessori School, and one in Orleans at Sir Wilfrid Laurier High School. And runs will be taking place all across the country, not just here in Ottawa.
Of course, and that's one of those traditions that is just so uniquely Canadian, and everyone remembers.
Do you remember, like, in elementary school, like doing Terry Fox runs?
Yeah,
like,
my whole life.
Every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just brings back memories to this time of year.
And middle school. We did them in high school, too. I mean, it's really one of those unifying...
Canadian institutions.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Mario turns 40, at least the game franchise does. I'm really not sure how old that little plumber is, but it's the 40th anniversary of one of the most iconic video game franchises in the world. We'll have more on that in just a moment. But before we go to break, here's a live look through our Centennial Glass Sky Cam. It is still 22 degrees out there.
Hairstyles, courtesy of Salon Fiorella.
Here's a recap of the top local stories we're following right now.
We have a rail station. It's exciting, so I'm just excited overall.
The O Train's Line 1 completely shut down for performance testing this weekend, and that has some East End residents hopeful for their future commutes.
Embrace Canada's historic aviation culture, because we do aviation better than just about any country on earth.
It's not a plane, or rather, it's not a bird. It is a plane. There they are. The skies come alive at the Gatineau, Ottawa Aero Show.
I thought there would be interesting booths and just to learn about what's happening in the city.
And we get a closer look inside the latest projects of the National Capital Commission. Open NCC returns for another year. Birds, planes, they're all the same. It's hard to tell the difference. One last look at your weather forecast, waking up to 16 degrees. There's a chance the showers will continue, but it's warming up from that point onward. We've got a high of 25, 26, 27 in the forecast for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Beautiful sunny conditions, and the warmest day is likely going to come on Thursday. 28 is the high, mix of sun and cloud. Then things will start to cool off into next weekend as the clouds linger through Saturday. It is time now to check in with our late team to see what the team is working on. Kim.
And we'll head back to City Folk and we'll check in on tonight's headliner, the Pogues. That's over at Lansdowne Park. And while it's considered a breakthrough technology, we'll take a deeper look at the concerns of just how quickly AI is advancing. CTV's Kevin Chirac has more on the new poll that's showing half of Canadians see AI as a threat. And you can get the news anytime, anywhere at ctvnewsottawa.ca. And of course, join me tonight for CTV News at 11:30.
Thanks, Kim. Looking forward to that as always. And finally for us tonight, it's a very special anniversary for the world's most famous Italian plumber.
Yeah, it's been 40 years since Nintendo released Mario's very first game, Super Mario Brothers.
Just the the audio takes you back, eh?
Yeah.
The smash hit made its debut in Japan on this day back in 1985. Mario, as you see there, was actually first introduced to the world in the 1981 arcade game Donkey Kong. He's a playable character in that. Had to rescue someone from that giant gorilla. Nearly 1 billion copies of Mario have been sold over the years.
Yeah, and I've played all 3 of the Super Mario 1, 2, and 3. But other than the ones after that, not so much.
Yeah, not worth it. There's so many now between like the Mario Bros and then Mario Kart, obviously
Mario
taking
Kart's
the world
great.
by storm.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Mario. Good night, everybody.
Good night.